Hello and welcome once again. My name is Emmanuel Odrojuma and I'll be your trainer for this entire series. If you have not subscribed to this channel, subscribe to it. Hit on the notification button to get alerted when a new video is posted. If you like this video, hit on the like button. For this lesson, we are going to speak about the box model. It is one of the most important topics to understand in CSS. So one thing that you have to understand is that every element that you bring up with HTML comes onto the web page as a box. So the images, the text, the buttons, the inputs, everything comes to the web page as a box. So I'm going to implement a simple web page so that we learn certain things about this particular box. So what I'm going to do is to create a header with an h1 tag of welcome to CSS. Okay, so let's learn certain things about the box that this h1 element will present to our web page. Let me bring up the live server. Okay, so we have our page running. What I'm going to do is to try and inspect this particular web page and see what is going on. So most designers use dev tools to inspect the page and see what is going on. It really helps as a front-end designer. So I'll right click, come to inspect. Okay, so you see that the HTML document that I designed, I get a sample of it over here inside DevTools. So I can use this sample to inspect what is going on over here. So for my body tag, I had a header and an h1 tag within the header. So I can go to the body tag. Inside my header, there is this h1 tag. So I can click on it to inspect what is happening with that particular h1 tag. So as I click on it, you see this particular box over here. So this is the box that h1 element created on the page. So let's learn certain things about this particular box. This one is the content itself. So for this particular box, it has a content of width 221 and height 74. It has no padding, it has no border, and then it has no margin. The border is like the outline of that particular element. So I can use CSS to show that particular outline. I'll do that for demonstration's sake. So I'll come back to my styles. I want to style my h1 element. And I want to give it a border. Now the border takes three values. The first one is the size of the border. The second one is the style of the border. I'll select solid. There are different. I just want to show what the border does. And then the last one is the color. So let me make it red. So I save it, and you see that I have a border around my h1 element. Okay, so the border, you see the border now changes to 1 because I gave it a size of 1. So I have the content with the width of 219, height of 74. I have a border of 1. I have a padding of 0, and I have this default margin given to it. Okay, so now what is the padding? The padding is the distance between the content itself and the border. So you see that the padding is found between the border and then the content itself. So the distance between the content and that particular border is what we call the padding. So when I come to this particular element, what it is trying to tell us is that the content, which is welcome to CSS, the distance between that text and that border is what we call the padding. So if I increase the padding, if I give it a padding of, let's say, 20 pixels, let's see what happens. You see that the distance between the text welcome to CSS to the top, it has given it a distance to the top, it has given it a distance to the right, it has given a distance to the left, and a distance to the bottom. So the padding is the distance between the content itself and that particular border. If I increase it to 40, you see that it increases from the content to the border. So that is for the padding. So there are several ways of implementing this padding style. Now, if I give it just one value, you see that from our box, the top will be given 40, the right, the bottom, and then the left. All the size will be given a padding of 40 pixels. If I give it two values, let's say 40 pixels, 20 pixels. So what happens is that the top and bottom will be given 40, and then the right and left will be given 20. So what happens is that the top and bottom will be given 40, and the right and then the left will be given 20. If I give it a third value of, let's say, 60, let's see what happens. The top will be given 40, the left and right will be given 20 pixels, and then the bottom will be given 60 pixels. So if I give it three values, the first one will take the top, the second one will take right and left, and then the third one will take the bottom. If I give it four values, let's say 50 pixels, let's see what happens. The top will be given 40, the right will be given 20, bottom 60, and left 50. So that is for the pattern. So if you want different values for the top, right, bottom, and left, then you can go for this shorthand. Apart from this, you can also state them one after the other. So you can give a pattern top, let's say 40 pixels. You can give a pattern right, let's say 60 pixels. You can give a pattern bottom of, let's say, 20 pixels, and then a pattern left of, let's say, 10 pixels. So I have a pattern top of 40, pattern right of 60, pattern bottom of 20, and pattern left of 10. If you only want the top, you can decide to give the pattern top and leave the rest. If you only need the pattern left, you can give it only the pattern left and leave the rest. So that is for the pattern. The next thing I'll talk about is the margins. Now, to demonstrate the margins, I'll create another element inside my HTML file. So I'll create another element within my body tag. I'll create a paragraph element with a dummy text. Save it. Okay, so Let me maximize this. Okay, so I'll go to my styles and create a border around my paragraph element to demonstrate margins. Okay, so to demonstrate margins, I'll create a border around my paragraph element and give it a border of 1 pixel solid red. Okay, so for the border for the paragraph element, you see that between the text and then the border there is no space within it. So add the padding for all of the sides. I'll give it a padding of 15 pixels. Okay, so between the content and the border, there is a small space at the top, bottom, left, and then right. So when you look at the box model, you see that the margin is outside the border. So it means that the space outside the border, that's what we call the margin. So if I highlight on it, you see that on my page, it is highlighted with orange. So that space is what we call the margins. If I want to increase that space between the two elements outside the margin, then I can use the margin. So it follows the same suit as the paddings. If I want to give a margin, I give it a margin of, let's say, 30 pixels. So if I give it a margin of 30 pixels, it applies to the top, the bottom, the left, and then the right. Same principle as the padding. Let me increase it to 50. So to the top, when you look at the box model, let me select my paragraph element. So there's my paragraph element. So to the top, we have 50 pixels. I have 50 pixels, 50 pixels, 50 pixels. Okay, so it follows the same suit as the padding. If I give it one value, it is applied for all the sides, top, bottom, left, and right. So I have top of 50, right 50, bottom 50, and then left 50. If I give it two values, I get a margin top of 50, a margin bottom of 50, left and right 20. If I give it three values, I get top 50, bottom 30, left and right 20. If I give it four values, I get a margin top of 50, right 20, bottom 30, and 40 for the left. So it follows the same suit as the pattern. If I don't want to use this one line code, I could also give it a margin top of, let's say, 40, a margin bottom of, let's say, 30, a margin right of, let's say, 20 pixels, and a margin left of, let's say, 10 pixels. So just like the pattern, I can get a margin top, margin right, margin bottom, and then margin left. If I only want the margin top, I can specify only the margin top without using the right or left or bottom, any way that you want it. So this is for the margins. Okay, the next thing I'll talk about is something we call a CSS reset. Now, most developers apply this reset to all their HTML pages with CSS to remove some extra margins and paddings and change something we call the box sizing. So if I inspect the body element, for example, the body comes with a default margin of 8 pixels. So most developers reset this margin and some default paddings and change the box sizing. So to do this, I'll come to the very top of my CSS. So I'm going to select everything with the asterisk. So I give it a margin of 0 px, 0 pixels. So if I save it, see that the margin for the body has changed to 0. So I give it a padding of 0. The next thing I'll give is something we call the box sizing. Now to demonstrate the box sizing, I'll add another property here. I'll change the width of my header. I'll change the width of my heading to 300 pixels. And height of 100 pixels. Okay, so let me make it bigger so that we inspect some things around it. Okay, so this is my hidden element. Let's select it. Now, I've given it a content of width 300 and then a height of 100. So you see it applied over here. But the actual size of that particular element will also add the padding, the border, and the margin. So the width of that particular element is not 300, but rather it's 0 plus 1 plus 10 plus the 300 plus 60 plus 1 plus 0. That is the default behavior given to the box. The height of this particular element is not just 100. It's 0 plus 1 plus 40 plus 100 plus 20 plus 1 plus 0. So this is the default behavior of the element. It adds everything over here as its height. It adds everything over here as its width. So to make sure that the height of that particular element is exactly 100 and the width of that particular element is exactly 300, what we do is to change the box sizing property. So I come to my CSS reset, add a box sizing, and then I change it to border box. So if I save it, you see that my heading element, the content itself, the height of the content changed to 38. It changed to 38 because after considering the padding and the margin, it has to reduce the size of the main content so that it will add up to 100. This one changed to 228 because after considering the size of the margin, the border, the padding, this one, that one, that one, it should add up to 300. So this is making sure that the actual box, the entirety of the box, has a height of 100 and a width of 300.